opportunity. It's a military diplomacy anyway. It provides an opportunity where Europeans will now explain and say, that weapon that was used to attack Moscow, we are not informed when these guys use it. We are sorry. That was not original intention. In the course of maintaining that communication, they are reducing tension. Sometimes you might even say, oh, these guys even use European equipment and attack Moscow, and that was a red line. Moscow did not retaliate. You are interpreting it from media perspective, but from the practical perspective, explanations were made, and that is where those military communication lines exist for. That is what they exist for. Explanations are made, apologies are quietly rendered, and actions are reconsidered. So that is where diplomats look at, not necessarily what is happening on or the missile flying on and off the roof. That's why in all that US did under Joe Biden, they made sure that they maintain that military communication, where America will always explain to Russia that, you see, though our equipment was used to attack a civilian area in Russia, but it wasn't our intention. We have called Zelensky and cautioned him. All these explanations are... Hello, I don't know if I'm still coming out loud.
Yes, you are. Go on.
Okay. So these are areas, explanations, apologies are tendered off cameras. And this is where diplomats look at. This is the benchmark of analyzing the growth, the trajectory of tensions, if it's going to escalate beyond this or not. Not necessarily what is happening on TV screens or the pages of newspapers. So that is where we are looking at. So far, so good. European nations are still maintaining communications. Some of them who have even had a sour diplomatic relationship with the Russian authority have even refused to outrightly pull out. They reduce it to the level of child affair, which means they are still interested for clarifications. And it's very, very important our people understand all these things. It might be technical, it might be, very cumbersome to understand, but these are realities that exist on international system. I don't know if I can now move on the second war.
Go on. Yes.
Want to point my attention? Okay, now when we now look at the issue of Africans being consigned and narrowing it to the Biafran people. Well, like I used to tell our people, the mindset that it doesn't concern us, is happening in a faraway land, is not really healthy for us as a people. We must understand the importance of the global connectivity, how the world is so connected that you cannot say it doesn't concern you. It concerns Africa because this is a very sensitive time in Africa. Some parts of African continent are waking up to challenge the unchallengeable powers like France and all the rest of them. And they are doing that owing to the fact that Russia is solidly behind them. The success of this challenging these powers is because Russia is giving them nod to go ahead. So if you have a weakened Russia, trust me, these guys are going to root back to Africa, and they come up with a policy that will be so devastating for anybody to rise up and challenge them again. So it should be a concern to Africa. And apart from that too, we should also be concerned owing to the fact that what they are looking in Russia is a way to, these Western powers, sometimes when they are fighting you, they don't want to go without anything. They're also looking at one of those things although it should be secret that they cannot divulge. But if you understand Western behavior as regards to their international displays, you understand they are always hungry for energy. They are mad gamblers when it comes to energy hunger. They are extremists on it. So one of those things you also see them wishing they can achieve in Russia, just the way they have achieved it in Ukraine. Ukraine resources is already shared amongst them. They have shared, scrambled and partitioned it as they wanted. The energy in Russia is so huge, is so envious that they wish Russia should crumble for them to partition it and share the resources of Russia. So if the same people with such wolf-like in Russia, Africans should also know if these guys can be extremely devouring, targeting to their fellow white-skinned men and women in Eastern Europe. How do you think they will just pity you, a black man, who doesn't share same skin color? So these are the things Africans should be considering. If they could go as far as getting Ukraine, reducing Ukraine to what she is today, and start partitioning Ukraine, they're already sharing the resources of Ukraine. Promise Ukraine, don't worry. We will take it and give you loans to survive, which is impoverishment. How about you, who is a black man, across the Mediterranean, across the Atlantic? How do you not think they will pamper you? So Africans should be worried. Because if they successfully defeat Russia, they will definitely come back. Maybe we might call it second colonization or whatever. So on us as a Biafran people too, because although we're Africa, but let's specifically talk about us as a people. We need it. We need a strong Russia. Not because I can verge of any direct contact with Russia, because I'm not in the leadership of IPOB. That is left for the Directorate of State to talk about. But we need a strong Russia because I always use the term Korean Peninsula factor. And this is one thing our people do not understand. You need two strong powers competing in international system for you to have one of them carrying you.
That is equilibrium. That is a multipolar world for equilibrium.
Good.
Go on.
Multipolar. If you look at global political history, you will find out that many countries got their independence during the Cold War. The number of countries, in fact, if you look at even UN policy of decolonization, it happened during the Cold War. And what was the Cold War about? It was, bipolarism. The defunct USSR and her allies, and the USA and her allies, they were dragging where they could not, where any of them could not have a headway. They would say, okay, let us partition it. Support this super, support it. They did it in South Korea and North Korea. That is always what I refer as the Korean Peninsula. So we need such international system. Unipolarism will be a difficult environment for us to try. It will be a very difficult. Not that we cannot succeed in unipolar system, global system, but it will give us more advantage when we have a polarized system, global system.
That is, you have options, you have choice.
Yes, good. Or bipolar system, so that you can be shopped for. Not necessarily you going to shop for any of the powers. Any power can approach you. Any power can consider you and have an understanding with you. I want to be diplomatically in my languages. So do you understand? So there is bound to be attention for understanding. So Russia standing does not really mean, oh, Russia is finally going to be our ally. It's possible Russia can even be an ally for the Nigerian state, and the other side will also be our ally. Vis-a-vis. There is no traditional methodology that said Russia will be our ally, and that is all depends on our ability to maneuver the complex environment. So we need a bipolar system. We need multipolar system if we should have a successful end in what we are driving, Mazi.
There, Mazi, going further on this, I want us to understand also, like listeners, please, do not forget that we are on Viewpoint with Mazi Chika Austin. Today being the 8th day of October 2025. And also, we are also live on different platforms, including Biafra TV, IPOB Community Radio, on our Facebook, YouTube, and even X platforms. Our IPOB Community Radio is booming. Our FM on different parts of Biafra land are also on. And www.ipob.org. Through there, you can be listening. Therefore, Mazi, going on in what you're saying, we should never also forget that during the First World War, Russia or Soviet Union, as of that time, they were allied forces with France, Great Britain, and even United States, fighting against Germany or Austria-Hungarian Empire and the Ottoman Empire and even Bulgaria. So you see Russia also as part of the Allied forces on the First World War. The Second World War, the same thing. Soviet Union fought on the side of the Allied forces gallantly. They lost even more people in Soviet Union more than any other country, any other individual country during the Second World War. More than 27 million people perished. Soviets perished in the Second World War. And they were the first people, the first country to reach Berlin and captured Berlin before Hitler killed himself and killed his family and himself. So, why should all these things change? Why is the European? Why are they pushing? I mean, it might be a repetition, but in another dimension. Why don't they look backwards towards history? Instead, they continue this propagating this anti-Russia fear-mongering rhetorics and sentiments and even actions. Now, is the fear of Russia, is their fear real or artificial? Even to the extent that despite the EU general economic difficulties, we saw what happened in France a few days back. The French Prime Minister resigned because of what they don't have. He don't have no what do you call it? He cannot perform his duties according to him because of the difficulties they are having, and France is in a deep mess economically. Even they are considering IMF bailout because they are having France. I'm saying having tens of billions of dollars of deficit, budget deficit. They are considering even a third world system of bailouts, considering IMF, which is very horrible. So after only 27 days in office, the latest prime minister, French prime minister, resigned because of what he saw. So, and they are also going, the French population, the opposition and the French population are going for the head of Emmanuel Macron, that he should resign, or they should. I had the one French opposition, the leader, Marie Le Pen, calling on either snap election for French people to decide on the way forward for France, because they are in a quagmire because of what they are doing, this Russia issue. So now, my goodness me, Mazi Chika, are you still there? Can you hear me? Are you hearing me? Mazi Chika, can you
Yes,
hear
I'm
me?
here. I'm
Okay.
listening to you, Maz. I'm listening to you.
Okay. So, with all these things and looking back to history, we saw they had been always with Russia and all these. Why all of a sudden this very deadly hatred and fear mongering to the extent, you know, the EU, we are seeing that what they are doing is extreme. They sponsored or encouraged anti-democratic processes to be carried on out in some countries like Moldova, even in Romania, to ban a presidential candidate that was even heading to winning a presidential election in Romania. What was insane? They propagated the Russian fear that he is pro-Russia. So they ordered the Romanian justice system, your judiciary, to ban him, despite whatever it will cost. So you see that this thing is so serious. What is happening is so serious. Please, Mazi, is this Russia fear mongering rhetorics? Is it something real or artificial? Despite their difficulties, they are ready to, you see, they, on mainstream media, they are not showing some protests, the voices of people that are highly outspoken against what their governments are doing, right from United Kingdom down to Italy, to different France, to different EU countries, even Germany. So they are muffling opposition voices, which is anti-democratic, according to their lectures. So, Mazi, what is happening? Is this fear real? What is the rise of this anti-Russia fear? Please, go on, please.
Well, okay. Well, Maz, a lot of factors are contributing to that anti-Russian narrative in amongst the European leaders. Let us not make mistake about it by moping everything together to make it look as if is a regional challenge. It's not a regional challenge. Rather, it is a topic that is being driven by the neoliberal leaders in Europe. Because when you discuss it as a continental problem, people might be misinformed of the practical issues happening in Europe and Russia. The average European man on the street has no problem with Russia. Either he finds himself in UK, in Germany, in France, and other EU member states. They have no problem with Russia. The same way to the conservative political leaders of Europe, they also do not have problem with the Russian Federation. But who are these people? Huh? Okay. Now, who are these people driving this cause? They have been the neoliberal political leaders of Europe and across the Pacific, that is America. And the question you should ask, why? Now, if you look at Russia, Russia has evolved into being what I might call a theocratic state to a level. Russia has been somehow a theocratic state. Theocracy in the sense that they have so much uphold the old system of not separating the state and the church. If you also look at some regions of Russia that also have high concentrations of Muslim faithful, Russia has also made sure that those people also hold a semi-theocratic system. And this is not really what the Europeans want. Europeans understand that, the neoliberal European leaders understand that when you have a theocratic state, what it means is this: there is going to be a high upholding of, quote, morality, unquote. And they don't want that, because liberalism or liberal concept entails that you should allow people to have a free will thinking, not being regulated, not being tamed, not being limited by fatalism or belief system. So having a neighbor that is entrenching a system that is in contradiction to what the neoliberals, and if, of course, you know, when
Mazi, you are trying to reconnect. Meanwhile, we must continue, please. Mazi, please go on. You got shut off for, I think, just 3 seconds. Mazi, go on. Can you hear me? Go on.
okay, so have the media, they have a very sounding institutions they have built for themselves. So they don't want having a strong nation that is embedded in semi-theocracy, or somebody can say absolute theocracy, arguably. So these are some of the things you're seeing in Europe. It's not a continental problem, because an average European man has no business with all these things these guys are chasing. The conservative leaders of Europe also do not believe in those things these guys are driving. Why you see Trump backtracking is because he's a conservative leader. If not true, he would have also been wasteful and extreme like Joe Biden's regime. So it is mainly of an ideological issue. If you understand it from that ideological perspective, you will now understand why it seems as if they will go to Romania and destroy Romanian democracy. They don't care, because they don't want the entrenchment of that ideology. That's why they can go to Slovakia, even attempting assassination when they failed to stop the president from emerging democratically. They attempted assassination. That's why they can bully the Hungarian leader to the point of trying to review European law, removing veto, the session of veto, just to make sure they strip Hungary the conservative leader opportunity to stand against their will. So if you understand all these things, then you will now understand the possibility of that war ending soon. What we are seeing today is just the, should I say, the outspoken face of the war. The war has been going on since Bolshevik Revolution. The war has been going on after the Second World War. What we are seeing today is just another stage of it. It happened during Obama time also, when the war in Crimea was also fought. So it's not going to be a war that you're going to see to happen as in to end so soon. And one thing I want us to have a historical discussion or trace on this is that whenever a Democrat president is in America, a neoliberal leader is in America, there's always tendency for war to break out in this region. During Obama's time, it broke out. The Crimea, Bush time, which is a conservative leader of America, because Bush was a Republican. There was no war. Joe Biden's time, it was under Joe Biden's supervision, a neoliberal leader of America, that these things also happened. So you now understand it better from a geological interpretation. That's all I have to say, Mazi.
Ndewo, Mazi. You know, with all this that is happening, please, listeners all over the world, what we are doing is analysis based on information and what we are seeing in this world. Radio Biafra is not siding any party, because under the law of free speech, we have the right to analyze, to explain to our people what is happening. Now, in this case, as I have said, these people has been allies when it comes to some great wars, but today we see that things are no longer or not as it's supposed to be. Now, Mazi, if the EU or the West that portrayed themselves as champions of democracy, lecturing the whole world, including Africa, can muffle the so-called the real democracy by stifling information that is given to the public, by banning journalists from their countries because they are reporting on the truth of what they don't want their people to hear. If they can change, if the EU or the West can boldly, bend the laws, encourage the bending of laws in countries like Romania and others, instigate assassination of presidents, prime ministers, or presidential candidates in order to stifle them. Mazi, what moral lesson or what moral do they have? What legitimacy do they have in order to come out to the world to talk about democracy? Mazi, please, this will be the last before we enter another point. Mazi, please go on.
Well, I would like to answer that question from a historical perspective, Mazi. The problem we have in Africa is that Africans have so much disdain for history, have so much discarded history, and is really telling on us today. Because if actually we are acquainted with history, I wouldn't know why somebody will see uh, Europeans as the proponents of democratic values. Is a wrong submission for anyone to think that way. Historically speaking, Europeans political history have been embedded in monarch system. And the monarch system is not far from dictatorship. So it's wrong for somebody to now come because people have started practicing democracy within interval of a century or 2 centuries, and somebody now think that they have deeply evolved, that one can give them the accolade as originators of that concept. Is out of order. It's purely out of order. Democratic values or democracy as a concept in Europe is just of contemporary history. If you want to look at an age-long democratic values, you should look into some of African countries like the pre-colonial Igbo society. This is where you now say that people were born with a democratic values. So it's because of this lack of Africans being in control of their literatures and information that one will now say, oh, I'm shocked with what the Europeans are doing in Romania, in Slovakia, they're not democracy. What the heck are we talking about? We are talking about people who are new into the concept of democracy. If you want to just give them, let me say, a subjective mark, you can now say, okay, they have practiced it for 200 years, which I doubt. Historically, it does not have any factual base. So what you're seeing in Europe is really the true color of Unge. They are not democratic. That's why you still have monarch system in Vatican. You still have monarch system, or should I say semi-monarch system in UK. So when you see them exhibiting and debating dictatorship and anti-democratic moves, you shouldn't be surprised. You should understand that that is part of their system. In UK, in Netherlands, and all the rest of them, in Vatican City, there is still this non-democratic political processes and
Mazi,
system.
before you continue to buttress what you are saying, let me let me list it. Europe has 12 monarchies now. Now, now. You know, I've preached
Okay.
it several. Let me list them. Andorra is a monarchy. Belgium, you are hearing talking about democracy, is a monarchy. Denmark is a monarchy. Liechtenstein is a monarchy. Luxembourg is a monarchy. Monaco, the Netherlands, Norway, Spain, Sweden, the United Kingdom, and the Vatican City. These are monarchies that are still existing in Europe. Mazi, please go on.
Okay. So you now good enough. You just pointed it out. Now just do the uh, calculation. We are talking about 51 countries of Europe. Am I correct? And you have now counted out 15 monarchs. So minus it from 51 countries of Europe. You can now understand that over 30% of European political system is embedded in monarchical system. And some of these areas you have monarchical system have the highest influence in European politics. Now, how can somebody now come and tell me that he's shocked, he's disappointed, he is concerned that the current Europeans are moving on the path of non-democratic values? Are you kidding me? Are you sincere with yourself? So it's because Africans hate history. Africans, we have so much disdain for knowledge. And that's why you will tell us that black is white. We will subscribe into it without asking questions because we have so much degraded ourselves mentally that rational thinking becomes a taboo for us. And it's unfortunate. It is telling on us. When you see us discuss, you wonder if we are still part of this war. When you see us react to issues, you wonder if we are still part of this war. Mazi, that is what I have to say.
There were. You know, here on Radio Biafra, you receive it as it is. Because many of our people are always thinking about Europe championing democracy. I've preached it here in details several times. That most of all these countries you're seeing in Europe, they are not democracies, they are monarchies. Mazi, you get them maybe turning to democracy maybe 200 years. But some are not even, I think Portugal moved out from monarchy only in 1970, I think 1975, if I'm not mistaken, either 72 or 75. So you see that,
Okay, 1975, we're not talking
yes,
about maybe
yes,
five decades.
yes.
5 decades.
But these are the
So
people.
funny.
These are the people that always lecture us on. Mazi, do we know that in England, in Europe, Western Europe today, that is championing, teaching us about women rights? Do you know that before the First World War, that their women were just treated as some Buhari treating his wife, and that the role of his wife is only in the other room. You know, this is a historical fact. It was the First World War. During the First World War, Europe in general and the United Kingdom in particular, they lacked men because their men were perishing. We are depleted in the trenches of the First World War. So what happened? They say there are women everywhere, and they were only inside the house, breeding children and caring for their children as housewives. That was the time they started encouraging their women, say you can go and work in factories to contribute to the war effort. What we are dishing out here is history. It is not what we made out or what we make out. That was the starting of the liberalization or women freedom in United Kingdom. I think in 1932 was the time the United Kingdom, the women of United Kingdom were given the right to even vote. That was
Universal coverage.
yes. That was why when Lugard, when they came to create Nigeria, and they came to Igbo land, they came to Aru Confederacy in the Biafra region today, which is our land. They saw that women were participating in governance. And they were shocked. They said, no, this is anarchy. Britain, you are seeing today, that is lecturing us on women rights. They did everything to stop women from participating in governance in our land, in Biafra land. Because they were not accustomed to. They said, no, it can't happen. Governance is for men only. What we say here, go and make your researches. This is one of the reasons also that about what they call about women riot, which is protest, rose up in order for our women to, express themselves naturally. But these are the people today, when you talk about women rights, people will tell you, oh, it's Europe. These are lies and lies. What they continue propagating to us right from birth till today, now it became part of us. They propagate lies and lies and lies. This is the time we need to, cleanse our brains. And this is what IPOB is doing. Do not forget that we are here on Viewpoint today, being the 8th day of October 2025 with Mazi Chika Austin. We are on Viewpoint. International geopolitics. That is what we are discussing. Now, Mazi, let us go to another topic which is also similar. We are seeing about Trump. He entered the power and he started bullying every country in this world. Tarification, increase in tarification. Now some people start asking, why is this so-called this type of power every country? Does it mean that without USA, the whole world will collapse? And also, Mazi, I want you to also talk about the USA weaponization of dollars. This was expressed some time ago by Putin himself, Vladimir Putin, some time ago. And that is why he said there is need for a multipolar world. And that is why BRICS is the conglomerate of countries like Mazi. Hope you are hearing me.
I'm here, Mazi. I'm listening
Okay.
loud and clear.
Yes, okay. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. These are the alma maters of these BRICS. So, which you have mentioned that it is advantageous for even us Africans or the global South. Now, what does this dollar weaponization mean? Please, how can you explain it to a common man's understanding? Mazi, please go on. I don't know whether you get my question.
Yes, your question is on the dollar weaponization. If I'm correct. So, anyway, it's simple as the word itself. Dollar weaponization. That is, turning dollar into a weapon. Normally, dollar is the globally accepted means of exchange. Currency, global trade is said to be conducted on dollar, which means every country of the world should have unhinged access to dollar. That is what is supposed to be in principle. And dollar should not be used as a weapon or politicized. This is what in consensus, what is supposed to be. But you know what happens? US have in several occasions abused that opportunity by, in course of having issues with other state actors, they try to restrict these actors' access to dollar, thereby hurting their conduct of domestic and the foreign trade. And this is what weaponization is all about. We should understand that this is not just the first time US has done this. Sometime in 1970s, US once also did this when there was crisis between Israel and the Arabs, and the US supported Israel against the war. So the Arabs decided to shut down the oil pipeline supplying oil to global market. In fact, it forced the product, the oil price to go up, skyrocket beyond measures. And US in turn decided to also weaponize her dollar. That forced a lot of countries to float, to remove their reserve, their dollar reserve, in fear of what currently happened. And it led to floating
Mazi,
of other
please, I want
currencies.
to. Oh, sorry, I want if you can explain something here. Just as you said, the dollar reserve. You know, sometimes people can ask about this dollar reserve. Does it mean that every country under this consensus of dollar, using dollar as a standard or the major standard in world trading and economics, does it mean that, for example, I don't know which gadget is doing all this, but we must continue. Does it mean that, for example, if Benin Republic wants to buy Nigeria crude oil, you know, Benin Republic, they use what we call their own currency, that is French franc, CFA. Now, does it mean that Benin Republic will now, instead of converting their money to naira, Benin Republic will now convert their money to dollar? Please, if I'm wrong, let me know. That is where I want,
Yes.
you know, for now they will convert it to dollar first, and now reconvert from dollar. Now they reconvert it to naira, which means
Yes.
America, the owner of dollar, will have their percentage, their commission. Just like if I go Nigeria today with dollar cash, I will go and meet a Aboki money changer, and he will tell me the amount in naira. He will make his own money from my money. Now, if that's the case, does it mean that every country in this world that is trading internationally have the equivalent of their currency, of their assets, mostly in bonds? And that bonds means dollars, equivalent of, like, is it the GDP of Nigeria, for example, if it is 400 and something billion, does it mean that Nigeria has equivalent of 400 and something billion in bonds, in cash, printed by America, stored for Nigeria? Is that because I'm not an economist, please? I don't know how you can explain this so that people will understand this. So that, because this threat always, which means any country, and this sanction, does it mean that any country that goes against, now America will withhold their bond, dollar bond, to punish the country? Please make sense
Okay.
out of it. Explain to
Can I go on?
Yes, go on, please.
Anyway, you talk about you said you're not an economist, but to the best of my knowledge, I think this issue is mainly on political economy. It's not just an economic affair. You study this kind of things to us framework of political economy, and which I know you have a sound, because I always listen to your programs. I understand you have a sound understanding of political economy, except you want to just be prof. Lamas, am I?
You were off few seconds ago. Please go back. Just 3 seconds ago. Go back, please.
Okay, I said you said is the issue of economies. But I understand is a
My goodness me. Why? What is happening?
political economy.
Yes, go on, go on. Yes, go on, go on. You are not coming out. Go on.
So I understand is the issue of political economy, and it's also important we simplify it as much as we can. But we cannot make a better contribution on that if we do not have a historical trace of the origin of this, very, very important we understand that, after the end of Second World War, U.S. established what we know as Bretton Woods institutions. That is setting up a global financial institution and deciding what financial exchange parities. When I mean exchange parities, what are the yardstick of naira exchanging for dollar, for instance? They set up the standard, they set up those international standards, and also made dollar to be the global trading currency. Like I said earlier, I said this happened is a post Second World War system they established. And since that time, the world has been trading on this until 1970s, when US acted the way she acted because of her support to the state of Israel, which the Arabs reacted, and the US in turn acted the way they acted. So, nevertheless, be it as it be,
Mazi, are
so
you
be
still
it
there?
as be it,
Okay, go on, go
I'm
on,
here,
go,
yes.
go on.
So be it as it be, every country of the world is expected to have a savings. And it's important. Thank God you raised this topic, because even when Biafra comes, we also have our foreign reserve. The reason why countries have foreign reserve is because of there are certain trade you'll be conducting. Hello? Okay, there are certain trades you'll be conducting. Your trading partner need a third party deposit as a confidence, so that by the time you default in the transaction, they fall back to the third party holder to augment whatever claims they have. So Russia and the rest of them, they also have foreign reserves. Some of them, they have the bond in EU, euro. Some of them, they have the bond in yuan. Some of them, they have their bonds in dollar value. But most countries always have a reserve in dollar because of dollar stability, because of stability factor. So that is what it really is. So countries have reserve. And when you're conducting international trade, before now it was a rigid situation, but thank God there are a lot of flexibilities. Countries are beginning to walk away from that rigid Bretton Woods institution standard, by conducting their trade on their local currency. But before now, if a country A wants to buy product from country B, they first of all seek for dollar. The country A will exchange his local currency to dollar. And while doing that exchange, Wall Street have their own percentage. As country B
On
is
your hard
receiving that,
end, money.
it doesn't matter. It's a standard they set for you. It's a global standard they set for themselves. So Wall Street has a percentage on that. As the recipient is also receiving the money for further maybe to buy raw material, he's also paying to Wall Street certain percentage. So in a situation, country A decided to act contrary to what US interest is. The US can deny them access of dollar, can deny the central bank of country A access to dollar, thereby frustrating their conduct of global trade. So what most countries have done is even go back to trade and barter, like Iran. Iran sometimes finds it difficult to have access to dollar in conducting global trade. What they do is that they ship their oil, and as the country they ship to oil send us medical equipments. It is now a trade and barter factor, thereby avoiding the Western or American sanction. But recently, we are now seeing a new system emerging where third party actors are now saying we can also float a consensus currency. That is where this currency initiative is coming. So that America cannot have power to sanction us or deny us. America cannot have power to sanction us or deny us access of dollar, which hampers our free conduct of international trade and businesses. So, Mazi, that is what it is, and I believe I have
Yes,
simplified
you
it
have.
in a
But
way.
yes, you have. Mazi, these are the things that when we see America, hear America, these are the things that makes them powerful. Because it is some time ago the the president of Eritrea, he said something. He said, "Do you see all these Western governments? Mostly what they do is to print money, paper, and use it to collect everything you have in your country. And when you look at it, it is true. You are they set standards. Dollar. $1. Kagame have revealed one some time ago that the cost of making $100 bill, the cost of printing $100 bill is not up to 80 cents. Man, I don't know whether you understand what I mean. The cost of printing $100 bill is not up to 80. When you value it, it's not up to 80 cents. Therefore, when you calculate how many $100 bills that can buy 1 kilogram of physical gold from Africa, from your country, you see that they are just picking it. They are just they are picking all these things, all these our resources. That is why they have the whereas like countries like Nigeria is pursuing only paper money. The Americans, the West, they are taking your resources, physical assets, resources, gold, rare earth, and printing money, paper. They are printing paper and giving to you. Mazi, this is terrible. We are living in a terrible world. When you understand certain things, you feel you regret even understanding it because it troubles you. I am telling you.
I don't know if I can say something
Go on,
before
Mazi,
you
go
go
on.
to
We are on
the next.
interaction. Go on.
Well, I understand. I understand. We are analyzing a global issues, but let us also understand that this program is mainly for educational purposes, because not necessarily that we are challenging the global standard for what it is, because at this stage we can only gain on this program on information level, not necessarily having the power to change the status quo, except when we metamorphose to state actor. That is when we can wish for certain changes, isn't it, Mazi?
It is. It is. It is. So, just like you said, yes, this is what I've said it before. We are not challenging or supporting anybody or any side, but people have the right. Our people have the right to understand how the world we are living is run. We have the right to dish out the information. Now, what you do with the information is up to you. This is at least this is free speech. So I don't think that even Facebook or any social media can hold us accountable for saying what we are saying. Honestly. So yes, yes. So Mazi, in all this, anyway, because I think we are going so deep. let us let us draw back a bit. I understand you. I understand. I
You really
understand.
understand why
Yes,
I'm
you know,
advantage.
this guy, the
Level
president, Ugandan president,
everyone.
Ugandan president Museveni, he said something sometime. He said, if you are doing something, you are acting as a president of mostly of Africa, you are always careful about the big hammer, not to descend on
Yes,
you. I understand you. So let us move forward, Mazi. Let us now go to this Israeli-Palestine war. Oh, as let me also reiterate that we are not siding any people. Please. What we are doing here is for solely educational purposes. To lay bare information to our people, to listeners, so that now you make more researches. We have the right to know things. Now, and this Israeli-Palestine war that has led to more recognition of Palestine by most countries, including European countries like United Kingdom, Italy, even Australia, Canada, which is very huge. Then even Nigerian government or Nigerian president, represented by his vice president, Shetima, he openly condemned Israel and called for a two-state solution of Palestine. He condemned what is going on in Palestine, the slaughtering of Palestinians by Israel, which is going on every day. Today, I don't know how many people are killed in Gaza. Yes, that is the fact. But the same Nigeria, the Fulani or the Sokoto Caliphate, the Nigerian government is committing similar crimes against Biafrans. They are, standing or putting their feet on Biafrans. There is this Christian genocide that is going on in Nigeria for a long time. It is now being spoken publicly, of which even the Almighty Christian Association of Nigeria, they confirm the rising attacks, killings of Christians in Nigeria amid the Christian genocide. Outcry says cries for justice often ignored. They are not doing it, or Christians are not killed as a collateral. No, they are targeted. These are facts and figures. While the vice president of Nigeria is calling or called for Israel to stop killing Palestinians, whereas Nigeria is or has been killing Christians, Biafra is mostly known as Christians. That is the truth. When you go to northern Nigeria also, there are Christian houses and Christian non-Fulanese, indigenous people that are mostly Christians. But you see in many communities in northern Nigeria and in middle belt that are Christian villages and communities, many of them have been wiped out. That is ethnic cleansing. That is genocide. Mazi, how do you compare what is happening in Palestine with the genocide, the Christian genocide that is going on in Nigeria, please? Because, please, before you continue, let us also know that the Asaba massacre is being commemorated today also. Asaba genocide started on the 5th to 7th of October 1957. Some people thought that It was towards the end of the war. No, it was even during the beginning. I I have an uncle that his junior brother was one of the victims of Asaba. That time he was living in Asaba before the war. And when they were rounded up, they supported Nigeria. They told them to come out. He came. He also followed to come out. And they separated men, women from men, and they opened fire. They said, I didn't know that particular uncle, but I saw the photo. They said he was one of the people, but he survived the massacre because people fell on top of him, and he pretended to have died. And when the Nigerian military were busy, relaxed, thinking that they have killed, or he said he rose up and jumped. He ran and jumped inside the River Niger and swam across to Onisha. From there, he came home. Even people were surprised because they took him as dead. When he reached home, that annoyance made him he joined the Biafran army, but he didn't return. He died as a Biafran soldier because he said what he saw, he need to enter the army in order to revenge. At least if he kill one soldier, one Nigerian soldier, he is okay. And he didn't return. So, Mazi, can you shed more light and make comparison between what is happening in the Middle East between Israel, supported by America, against Palestine, against Gaza, and the speech of Vice President of Nigeria, Shetim, openly in the world stage, condemning Israel for what they are doing against Gaza, whereas a wars has been happening, committed by Nigerian government, by the caliphate, against Christians, against Biafrans. Mazi, please, over to you.
Okay. Well, Mazi, let's first of all understand how countries' foreign policy work. Because if we do not understand all these things, we keep on importing emotions and sentiments in analyzing these things. You see, Nigeria has maintained consistent when it comes to her foreign policy towards people fighting for self-determination. Nigeria has been consistent in supporting people to have their right for self-determination. Nigeria was consistent when it happens to South Africa, the end to apartheid. Nigeria supported those who are seeking for freedom. Nigeria also did same in places like, I think she also played role in Angola, if I'm not mistaken. She has also maintained consistency towards Palestinians. She has also maintained consistency towards the Western Sahara Arabs. Nigeria has never failed to support people seeking for self-determination. That on her foreign policy, that is not arguable. Now, some of us, I see what we write on social media. Sometimes I just smile over it because uh, we tend not to understand what statecraft is all about. Nigeria does not only support countries or people who are seeking for self-determination. Nigeria even domesticated UN Charter on that in her constitution. Nigeria also domesticated African Union Charter on that. Even ECOWAS laws are guided to that. They are all embedded in the Nigerian constitution. But one would be forced to ask, okay, if Nigeria foreign policy is consistent in supporting self-determination, and Nigeria has also domesticated global charters as regards to self-determination, what is now wrong with the Biafran question? Now the answer is not far-fetched. Nigeria knows that we are fighting a just cause. But Nigeria cannot explain that to the international community. And that's why all she's doing is to criminalize the movement, criminalize the struggle. And how do they criminalize it? They criminalize it through infiltration and polarization. Infiltration has to do with let the criminals pretend as if they are part of those who are asking for self-determination. They infiltrate and start carrying out criminal activities in the name of that self-determination. Polarization, how does polarization work? Polarization work in this way. By the time infiltration is done, then you'll be hearing several voices within the family. People will be confused. Which one do I even listen to? Which one do I follow? At that very moment, they have succeeded in polarization. So the world knows there is something called self-determination movement in the whenever Nigeria is called upon to explain, if you think that international community does not seek explanation as regards to Biafran self-determination from the Nigeria, you are not sincere with the truth. They do clarify. But whenever they are called upon, Nigeria will always leverage with activities of those infiltrators they have contracted, those polarizers they have contracted to blackmail the movement. And this is where our people, our people believe everything is just, you make noise, you talk, yeah, church. It's not, it doesn't move an inch. The reality in global politics, that you rant, that you talk without understanding the tactical and strategic behavior of state actors, you will end up playing into their gallery unknowingly, witch hunting yourself, destroying your opportunity to advance your cause. So the same way is what is also happening in Israel. Israel knows that the Palestinians are asking for a right thing. They know it. But what is Israel doing? Israel is also the same thing Nigeria is doing. Israel is also doing everything to make sure to undermine that move by encouraging certain factions to be using arms. So that when they want to discuss the Palestinian self-determination, Israel will be telling the world, let us talk about Hamas first, not even Palestinian issue. I want us to discuss Hamas first, which is, let us talk about disarmament, which is a distraction, which is a diversion. So that is how it happens all over the world. That is how it happens all over the world. So you don't expect the Nigerian state to admit that IPOB is fighting a just cause. If you're expecting that, you don't know what you're doing. It is their responsibility, knowing too well that if these people get out of the union, they have what it takes. In fact, they are the ones sustaining the union. If they vote out, a lot of damages are going to be done to the Nigerian state. It might stop existing. Whatever is left over as a Nigeria will stop existing. So you don't expect them to now put their hands, not to do everything possible to undermine. This is where I have issue with the way some of us reason. We undermine our opponents a lot. We believe that they shouldn't be acting. They should just pause the activities, and we should just have the. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work the way. It has never worked. It is not working, and we never work that way until we open our mind towards accepting. Until we open our minds and start being abreast with reality, we keep on destroying ourselves. Because one dangerous thing about emotional thinking is that by the time you wake up from the slumber, you realize that you're still at the same point at which you were. Very, very important. So, whether you look at it from the angle of the Palestinian or the Biafran question, one thing is certain. Israel does not see it as being at their own interest to watch the Palestinians have their freedom. The same way Nigeria does not also see it. Now, if you look at the Palestinians and ours, you now ask yourself, like most of us, we always write, hey, the world is recognizing Palestinians. Why are they not recognizing Biafra? And I look at some of our people and laugh. You think the world will just working for you without you, first of all, working for yourself? It does not happen that way. Nobody will work for you. You have to work for yourself. Make yourself attractive for association before you start having it. If you look at the Palestinians, you discover one thing they have extensively achieved. Go all over the world. You will understand that they have a very resounding good offices. Whether it's in Qatar, whether in France, whether in strategic places in the world, they maintain a good office. They don't only exist on social media. They have occasions at which you will, if you want to send correspondence to them, they are locatable. If you want to have a secret discussion with them, they are locatable. They are not just on social media only. Have we even achieved that common thing? Have we been able to maintain a strategic locations? Have we provided a good office? Because if you say, oh, you don't get, why? It's not important. In the next 50 years, you will wake up to realize it's important and you will start it at that 50 years. That's how the world function. Oh, it's not important, it's inconsequential. Don't worry, in the next 100 years, you will start it. That thing you're supposed to do in 2025, you will fall back to it. And again, another thing we have to learn from Palestinians is this. They are not quick in giving appraisal to any smile. Mazi, do you know that there is ongoing negotiation in Egypt on Palestinian issue? Are you aware?
Of course, yes, yes. They call it indirect negotiation. Yes, yes.
Good. But now, if you have been following that negotiation, you understand something is amazing about these people. Israel is talking about ceasefire. And these guys, learning from the Russian diplomats, they say, no, we want to discuss we want to have a comprehensive negotiation. Because if you're jittering, if you're just jumping up because one politician come up and say, okay, you people should come, or Sheyi, or whoever called you people should come, PM, before 5 a.m., you're already there. Oh, okay, I agree with this, we'll go. You don't care the terms, you don't care the nature, you don't care the features, you care absolutely about nothing. You have a high disregard to procedures of negotiations and dialogue. Then all of a sudden, by the time you left, and he looks at you and laughs because he sees how empty, how bereft you are in understanding technicalities in negotiations and dialogue. Yeah, the next thing you come to newspaper and start saying that somebody betrayed you, somebody did not respect agreement. Do you even know what agreement is between non-state actors and state actors? So you can now see how these guys are very rigid. They are not that flexible. You don't tell them, oh, let us meet in Egypt, in Cairo, and saw the fiam. They went there with their people who do not even understand anything. They went with the best of their technocrats when it comes to dialogue and negotiation. Have we evolved to that level? Have we evolved to the level that we will not shield egocentrism pride and his vision of emptiness, that certain things we should shop for the technocrats. Even though it entails getting these technocrats from side IPOB members, getting professionals, have we evolved to that level? Because the truth remains that no country will support handing over management of state to people who have not evolved mentally to handling sensitive issues. No country will come and say, oh, let us support imbeciles to own a country of their own. No, it will be a disaster. Be a mockery to nationhood system. It will be so embarrassing to nation state system as far as the global politics is all about. So we have to first of all be mature mentally. And this is one of the things we must go through. Is a must. The Palestinians have been going through it for over 6-7 decades now. They have been going through it. And our people believe that in our dysfunctional state, for instance, the world should just support us. The world supports people who have built a standard for themselves, who have sense or level of discipline for themselves. Because in trusting nation-state system in a group or a people, you must know their level of mental development. It's very important. It doesn't matter how we talk, how we yap, how the noises we are making. The status quo remains unchanged. That's what I have to say, Mazi.
There were, just like what you said, which means that discipline is also the key. Because our people, or many of our people, don't understand how things work when it comes to this issue of nationhood. And this is why our people fall. They thought that it is something I can do. Okay. Just once you hear any call from a politician, ordinary politician, where he thinks that money will come out to finish, he will lose his sense of, dignity. Everything he will run, go wow, now, the world respects structure, and that is just like what you say. It's revealing, honestly speaking. In this our quest, internally, in a diplomatic circle, as you have said it, our people should understand that international communities used to call Nigeria to make inquiries what is happening. Look at what the Biafrans what is happening, this and that, this and that. They ask them. And that is the reason why the Nigerian government, being a government, they try to polarize one ESN in order to demonize, so that whenever they have a request for that accountability to answer why this what is happening, what are you doing against this Biafran that is warranting this and that, they will immediately present the functions of their compromised criminals. These are not they are not freedom fighters. They are not fighting for self-determination. They are killing their people. Look at, even we send military to even help to safeguard their people. These are things that are happening internally. Many of our people don't know this. That is why it's highly absurd. Mazi, I think you know that there is a court proceeding in Israel, even against Netanyahu. Let me put it's an allegation now because it's not been proven. But many facts are arising that his government, even former government, he is one of the people. His government funded the rise of Hamas. Gaza was given back to Palestine in 2005. But they set Gaza up to fail. so that there will be, the extremists, water. For Israel, their enemy funded this Hamas because they know that in a long run it will backfire. That is what is going on, and that is where Israel is holding that. Look, before we cannot allow people that are killing us, that wants us killed, all of us killed. That is where the excuse they are holding. So these people, they have given them excuse in order to continue holding them. This, yes,
Mazi, Mazi,
yes, go on.
Mazi Jonathan, ask yourself a simple question. In Palestine is not only limited to Gaza, you have the West Bank as well. Ask yourself a question. Why is it that whenever Palestinian issue is raised, Israel limits it to events in Gaza?
Exactly.
Because they understand something. You must have what we call a place of litmus test. Like when you hear Nigerian government is not scattering the infiltrators all over Biafra land. They have a center they want to first of all use an example to tell the world that, just like Israel will tell the world, if we are going to allow Palestinians to live, look at how they are destroying Gaza. Look at what is happening, the carnage going on in Gaza. There is a lot of arms in Gaza and all this. But they don't call the attention of the world to West Bank. West Bank is calmly and peacefully administered by PLO. Why are they not referencing West Bank? When you see them concentrating in Okigwe and Olo, they want to so much bring carnage to this place so that it will be an epicenter of example. Whenever you talk of Biafra, they say, go to Olu, go to Okigwe and see what the Biafra they are talking represents. Go to Olu, go to Okigwe, and you will see how they are taking their people hostage. That is using an epicenter mechanism to demarcate a product. But in our people, oh goodness me, our who are not even informed brags on the tactics and the decoy of their enemies. And they believe that is, supporting, giving an oral support to these criminals. That is what some of us will go as far as saying those useless rantings and all those anxious that are not even feasible to what we are talking about. Sorry for cutting you, Mazi.
No, you are another Mazi. Mazi, I want you to also compare it. Go on to the Christian genocide that has been going on in Nigeria, that is being portrayed today, to the extent that from time to time, whenever this matter is being risen, some Nigerian government will contract even Christians themselves, some Christian elites, to start debunking and say, no, it is not, it is not true, it is not true. Mazi, what can you say about it, please?
Well, the issue of Christian genocide that is being trumpeted all over the world, especially by the Western powers, yes, there are places of high killings of Christians. Nobody can deny that. Benue is an instance, northeast, even northwest, some places in north central, even Biafran land, Christians have been killed, even by agencies of the state. It has happened. In north, it's happening by the terrorists, by the Fulanis, conscripts, and all the rest of them, unarguably. But let us also understand something. When you have a situation whereby America and her allies are pushing a narrative, you don't just take it on a face value, because Trump's government in the first tenure did everything possible to underlist Nigeria, which he did. It was Joe that removed Nigeria, and that underlisting cost Nigeria a lot, including having access to military equipment. And a lot it costs. I know that is what the Nigerian government, Tinubu's government, is afraid, but he cannot run away from it. He cannot run away from it because you cannot just come on media spaces and say Christians are not killed, or this or that. It's not just a theory denial. While every day evidences are there that people are being killed by Islamic extremists. So what is most important for people to understand here is I don't think Tinubu's government has what it takes to push back Americans' advancement on this. I don't think. During Buhari's time, Buhari could not stop it. America started the narrative and ended in backlisting Nigeria. I don't think Tinubu's regime will stop this fierce advancement because it's not only coming from American executive arms, it's coming from even the legislature. That is issue of worry, which I believe the current government is battling with. But let us also understand that sometimes these issues are issues of international politics, where powers also seek a way to have a military intervention. There is a section of global law that empowers a country to carry out what we call responsibility to protect. A third party a third party state actor can intervene militarily to save people that are facing extinction and humiliation. And of course, America has the capacity to cause if she chooses. And I understand the worry of the Nigerian state because Nigeria is already a fragile any little external pushes and give a high motivation for internal events which might end today's collapse of the entity. Mazi.
Mazi, before we go to the final point or the topic, Mazi, there is something I just remember. I want you to please let us talk about, in the United Nations General Assembly a few days ago, last week, many African countries talked about Africa not having a permanent siege. Mazi, can you educate our people, educate us about the meaning of permanent siege and why even at least one siege, one permanent siege should be given to an African country? Because all other continents have them except Africa. And this is where decisions, critical, the decisions, strategic decisions are made. But Africa is not there. You know, remember, League of Nations was formed after Second World War, when most of African countries, if not all, except is it Ethiopia, uh, we are still
Okay.
colonized. Mazi, please go on. Go on.
The issue of permanent seat in the question of permanent seat in UN security And I know when you come to Africa, there are 3 or 4 countries that are seriously pursuing that position. Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt. Ethiopia is also there.
Even Kenya.
Eyeing the same
Kenya.
opportunity. Yeah. So, but you know, when an actor, a state actor, possesses that position, there are so many, you know, advantages to that. At least you can freely move into becoming a nuclear possessor, which is a strong deterrent power against external aggression. And you have a lot of powers you can wield. You also become an ideal target for lobbying, because sometimes your veto will be desired by other actors and they have to lobby for that, for you to give them that veto. So, but when you look at these candidates in question, the state actors candidates, for me, Egypt and South Africa are in a better position to have it, owing to the fact that at least they have a relatively stable society, unlike Nigeria. Nigeria, you cannot predict Nigeria. Nigeria is not a country that is in future, owing to the fact that Nigeria is not a stable society. So I believe Egypt, South Africa will be in a high consideration. And Mazi, I want to add up something I forgot to say while we are discussing on the Palestinian issue before this. You know, one thing you should understand is this. Countries all over the world have achieved different kinds of peace or conflict resolution. All depends on the approach which the leaders love that country. You know, politicians have never, most politicians all over the world have ended up having a ragtag negotiation outcome, and thereby halting a conflict, stopping a conflict temporarily, and paving the way for future conflict for successful leaders or leadership. Now, when you look at the issue of, I'm not digressing, but I just want to come back to what we said because something came up to my mind.
Go on,
When
Mazi,
you now
go
look
on.
at the Biafran question, yeah, when you look at the issue of Biafra, you will understand that no Nigerian leader wants to solve the Biafran issue. And I understand why none of them wants to give a comprehensive solution to that question, Biafran question. The reason why is that no Nigerian leader loves Nigeria. No Nigerian leader have Nigeria at the back, at the in his heart. Whenever they approach a conflict that threatens the contraction union, they always come with a mechanism or approach of having a temporary relief. Oh, let me see how to manage this thing so that my tenure will finish. A succeeding or successful person, anyhow he wants to manage his business. Let me give you a historical antecedent on this. When Biafra issue came up in 1960s, 1967 to 1970, God had a massive conflict resolution approach on Biafran question. Rather, go on what we call fire up or armistice. It's not a comprehensive conflict resolution. The intention of Gowon is, oh, let me see. In fact, let us stop shooting. Let us have them on the table. Let them stop shooting. I will soon finish. I will go. Whosoever that enters, if he wants to Anyhow he wants to manage it, that is his business. Gowon left. When Obasanjo came and was
Mazi, your voice is cutting now. I don't know.
When Obasanjo came,
yes, go on.
Am I
Yes, go on, go on. You are good. You are good now.
When
Go on.
Obasanjo came, okay. When Obasanjo came and Wazirika arose, Obasanjo did not also give a comprehensive conflict resolution approach on Biafran question. Rather, what he negotiated out with Wazirika, oh, stop agitation, temporary. Don't worry, we'll discuss. They reached a deal, he left. He never cared to give a comprehensive approach. And that also left a room for future agitation. Now, we are on our own dispensation. There are also, Tinubu, in fact, Buhari refused when negotiation was had in 2017. Buhari find it difficult to implement it because he knew it will not take long, he will leave office. That whosoever that enter lets him carry this headache is none of his business. If the headache wants to kill Nigeria, it's none of his business. Because none of them believe in the Nigerian project. They know that what we are fighting is a genuine cause. They know that it's achievable. They know that if they give a comprehensive approach, it will be a win-win thing. But I say to manage it, every kinetic and non-kinetic approach here is nobody discussing their question from comprehensive approach. The answer is no. What is Tinubu trying to do? Also, I will manage it. Let me say how I will pamper it. Let me see. Probably, let me maybe see if I can have a deal with this person. Have a deal with this person. Manage it until I leave. The answer is because none of them believes even in Nigeria. They know we are fighting a just cause. When Niger Delta question came up, the same Yaradua did not want to give a comprehensive conflict resolution on it. He never asked them, okay, what do you people want? 13% derivation to the oil producing communities. They never cared. He said, oh, let us bring out money, call them, give them amnesty. It's a temporary relief. They are going to go back to their houses. Rest. Is the Niger Delta question not resurfacing again? It is. So it is important for us as a people to understand that this has been an approach the Nigerian government leaders have been using because they do not want a comprehensive approach in solving this question because they know that Nigeria disintegration, that Nigeria, just like Awolowo said, is an aberration, is a geographical expression. And that is the understanding they have. Mazi, that is what I really want our people to understand.
The Mazi, and you are listening to Viewpoint from Radio Biafra Hausa Service, coming to you through Radio Biafra London. I am Mazi Jonathan Chinedu, and with me on today's discussions is Mazi Chika Austin, and we are talking about international geopolitics. Therefore, we have the right to understand how nations, how international politics are being played. That is our right. Therefore, Mazi, I want us, in conclusion, to talk about Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's court proceedings, or the shenanigans they call court proceedings. And for the listeners' information, IPOB has, for a long time, since 2022, 13th October, we have lost faith. Officially, this is IPOB's official position. We lost faith in the Nigeria judiciary, because as Nigeria couldn't obey their own court when on the 13th day of October 2022, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was discharged and acquitted by the Nigerian court, but the government refused to obey. So why going to the same court? If there is any favorable outcome, would they obey it? The answer is no. So that is no need. Therefore, Mazi, in all these days, even today, there was a court outing today on the report of from is it Nigerian doctors union or something like that, about whether Mazi Nnamdi Kanu should be sent to hospital or is fit to stand trial, something like that. Mazi, there is something very conspicuous. You see, the lead counsel, San, what is his name, Mazi? What is his name? The lead counsel, San,
owing to the fact that some persons came to, attach their unpopularity lifestyle to his popular, personality. Some persons also come to hang around his event in order to swindle people. People have different tension at which they come around high personality individuals, like Sam. Yes, this is a second time presume he has not been seen around Mazi Nnamdi's case, but at the public levels is better.
you are better now. You are better now, please.
Okay. So, what I'm trying to say is that the narrative is unwell, allowed to be sustained, because the second time he has not been seen, the ground that he's sick. For me, I would say, let it be for what it is.
Thank you very much, Mazi. And we are now going to go into a few minutes break so that when we come back, our lines will be opened so that people will call in and give their contributions or ask questions. Just few people. Today, I don't want people to call and start thanking. You know, you find out that before you finish thanking this person, your time you have spent more than you should spend. Please. Here we are all learning from each other. You come in, you go straight to your point. If it is question, you ask. If it is contribution, you make straight away. Please do not go away.
Military tactics may win battles measured in months and years, but in wars that span generations, it is values and ideas that deliver the ultimate victory. We are despised by terrorists because we choose tolerance over tyranny. Their ambition is to divide us and to poison our humanity with a toxic rhetoric of hate. Our difference is the distance between shadow and light, between despair and hope, between the ruin of anarchy and the promise of order. We do not only fight wars, we pit and shelter the innocent victims of war. This is why we are not indifferent to the devastations of our neighbors near and distant. This is why we speak of the violence and aggression visited upon innocent civilians in Gaza, the illegal attack on Qatar, and the tensions that scar the wider region. It is not only because of the culture of impunity that makes such acts intolerable, but because our own bitter experience has taught us that such violence never ends where it begins. We do not believe that the sanctity of human life should be trapped in the corridors of endless debate. That is why we say, without stuttering and without doubt, that a two-state solution remains the most dignified path to lasting peace for the people of Palestine. For too long, this community has borne the weight of moral conflict. For too long, we have been caught in the crossfire of violence that offends the conscience of humanity. We come not as partisans, but as peacemakers. We come as brothers and sisters of a shared wall, a wall that must never reduce the right to live into the currency of devious politics. The people of Palestine are not collateral damage in a civilization searching for order. They are human beings, equal in worth, entitled to the same freedoms and dignities that the rest of us take for granted. We want to make the choice crystal clear. Civilized values over fear. Civilized values over vengeance. Civilized values over bloodshed. We show the opportunities that peace brings, just as the extremists hope to drive apart rival communities and different religions. We work through multilateral platforms within the rule of law to build the consensus and support that makes this immensely difficult and dangerous task that much easier. This is how we deny our enemies the space they crave to fuel tension and despair. It is our experience that this offers the best, perhaps only hope for peace, reconciliation, and victory for the civilized values of a shared humanity. Military tactics may
Secretary of State Marco Rubio, you called on the State Department to redesignate Nigeria as a country of particular concern due to the persecution of Christians in Nigeria. What's going on there?
Yes, it's really, truly a tragedy what is happening in Nigeria. Just this year alone, 7,000 Christians have been killed by Boko Haram, an Islamic terrorist organization. Just on Ash Wednesday this year, we had a priest kidnapped and murdered and another 54 Christians martyred on Palm Sunday. There's 35 Christians a day being murdered in Nigeria by an Islamic terrorist organization. The Biden administration removed that designation of a country of particular concern for Nigeria. President Trump had put that designation on them in his first term, and I'm urging Secretary Rubio to bring that designation back because it is certainly warranted. We need to stand up for these Christians who are being murdered in Nigeria.
Unbelievable. All right, Congressman, we'll be watching you work on that as well. Thanks very much for being here this morning. Riley Moore joining us. Thanks.
The Igbo practiced colonial experiment. Before Nigeria, colonial experiment. Before Nigeria is not a country, it's a colonial experiment. Before 1914, there was no Nigeria. What existed were nations powerful, complex, and independent. The Yoruba had their kings and sacred cities. The House of Fulani ruled empires that stretched across the desert. The Igbo practiced one of the oldest forms of democracy. Around them were the Tiv, the Ijaw, the Edo, the Nupe, each with systems of trade, governance, and belief. But the British didn't care about these histories. In 1914, they drew lines on a map and merged over 250 nations into one colony, not for unity, but for profit. They forced kingdoms that had never bowed to each other to suddenly live under one flag. That's why what we call tribal conflict today is not some ancient hatred. It's the crack in a foundation laid by colonial hands. Our ancestors were sovereign before the word Nigeria ever existed. The real question is, if outsiders wrote our borders, who will write our future? Nigeria is not a country, it's a colonial experiment.
Welcome back. This is Radio Biafra House of Service coming to you through Radio Biafra London. My name remains Mazi Jonathan Chinedu from Alo province of Biafra land. And we are here live and direct. Today is the 8th day of October 2025, being Wednesday. Tatabo Botieke. Therefore, our lines are now opened. And we are going to take just few calls, please. We need, once you make your call, please limit your preamble. Introduce yourself, if you may, to the listeners and go straight to the point. Let us avoid this, I thank you, I thank Mazi Jonathan, I thank IPOB, I thank DOS, please. We know that you are grateful. That is why even you spend your time calling. So why don't you go straight to your point? Introduce yourself, make your point. If it is asking questions, you ask. If it is to contribute, you make your contributions. And another person will call also. Please, our WhatsApp and Signal line remains the same. It is +61 405 142 547. I repeat, +61 405 142 547. I repeat once more, +61 405 142 547. I have a first caller on WhatsApp. Please make it worthwhile by introducing yourself and go straight to the point. Caller on WhatsApp, can you hear me? Please go on. Just hold on. Sorry, I didn't even branch you, please. Just 1 second, if you may. Go on, Mazi. You are go on now, please.
Okay, can I continue, Mazi?
Go on. Yes, continue. Go on.
Okay.
Go on, Mazi. Go on.
My name remain Mazi Hilary HK. Mazi, in your submission and in what the other person is saying, I appreciate. Mazi, see, Russia is fighting a very right cause because this is what Africa need to understand. It's like in your last blockers on Think on Monday, you mentioned something like this. This Russia don't want any European spy in their territory, and this is agreement signed by Bush. Are you getting me? And this, yes, are you listening to me?
Go on, Maz, go on.
So this agreement was signed in Bush Island. In Bush Island, in a house Bush built. Then that is why Putin say Western Union don't want to respect their treaty, and now they want him to cease fire. He want them to have a clear vote. Putin wants to cease fire. Putin don't want to continue, but Western world are the people pushing this war, and that's why Trump said, "I want to end this war within 24 hours." But now Trump understands that this war is not a Ukraine war. This war is a war between Russia. They want to know the Russia might and strength. Then, Mazi, come to Nigerian idiotic country that the United States self-determination. How they obey common law. Are you getting me? And see, come again in this current. Mazi, America know the reason why they hold US dollar very strong. And let me tell you, they are pushing to um, um, cancel using of Bitcoin. But the other countries understand that this is a way to shorthand American strength in some things. At least now, some countries are in Bitcoin without dollar anymore. So, Mazi, this is where I want to talk my own opinion. Or this your teaching is all about we Biafrans to know our interest first. Like this, some of the hood drums that inside IPOB now form woto. Okay, now if not IPOB with help of God and intelligence, push him out from this struggle. By now, those things, those terrorists now, we are now like being inside the terrorist organization. But because of we cut out from Woto. So, Mazi, in this your submission, what we have to learn, not the Western power or anything, what we have to learn is anything you are doing, Biafran interest. Mazi,
There were Mazi. Thank you very much. Mazi CJ, please go on. The platform is yours. Mazi CJ, can you hear me?
Good evening.
There were Mazi. There were.
And I want to go straight to the question. Yeah. What my question tonight hinges on one particular topic, but it's kind of multi-question. Two, I would say, under one topic. It is about this now that America and the world are turning their face towards Nigeria and the violence against Christians that has been happening. I believe they have put a particular period time this has happened, which makes it historical. Now, the massacre and genocide against Biafrans, who are predominantly, do Biafrans not have a valid case to ensure that what happened to them is included in whatever that is being talked about with regards to this Christian genocide in the space called Nigeria? Why I make this, I'm asking this question or bringing this point is that some people might argue that the Biafran genocide during wartime, but whichever way you look at it, war was propagated by a state, which is Nigeria, and the current genocide they are talking about is also being sponsored by the state. As at least that has been proven in so many quarters. A reference point would be Colonel Oluwomi, or whatever you call him. And the so-called dossier that Dubai had produced with regard to sponsors of Boko Haram, who are architect of this Christian genocide currently. So now, the second question is, if there is any proposed solution,
There were changes towards the same direction, I think. Go on, Mazi. Go on, if you have a question. Go on.
Okay. Okay, I've got it. Try to paraphrase the Biafran question on the issue of genocide, the Christian genocide. Good. Then talking about how would this thing be solved without talking about or Biafra coming within the circuit. Let me go first on that first question. No, I always wish our people can take a lot of time to be following developing issues. It will help a lot to understand certain things the leadership is. If you look at the quotation of these U.S. members of the legislature, and by extension is definitely going to come. I think Department of State on medical as regards to the Christian genocide as well. If you look at it or comprehensive, understand that there is a lot of leverage taken of the work of the civil society organization. And for those of us who do not truly understand that civil society organizations have lived extensively on the reports by the leadership of the indigenous people of Biafra. So if you understand this very connectivity, you will now understand that the Biafran question is not out of the whole thing, but you should understand the place of politicking, or should I say international politicking. Sometimes countries, when they want to do a certain things, especially when it has to do with intervention, they push a topic that will attract to them against a topic that will bring divisiveness to them. I can give you a lot of instances on that. So, society reports, intersociety working extensively so that the human rights violations that are going on in Biafra are being presented to the world. And I can tell you without, how will I put it? I can categorically tell you as well that the leadership have also sending series of violations. So, reports to correspond to certain authorities. And I might influence on what is going. Take note about this, because sometimes we always want, or we always think that countries are open and clear in responding to certain issues. If America is talking about we want to intervene under the Biafran question, as it stands now, Biafra is not in any conventional war with the Nigerian state, and there is no ground for intervention as far as the politics of intervention is concerned. There is no ground at which any country can intervene under the auspices of Biafra. There is no grant for it now. It doesn't matter whether we are, but it is what it is. They can intervene the Christian genocide because and when you talk about Christian genocide, it's not regionally based. Boko Haram or Fulani extremists, Fulani terrorists are not only killing in North, they are killing in West, they are killing in East. And the American report is talking about Nigeria is not leveraging to North, West, East, or South. So it's important we understand that so that we don't exclude, make a certain exclusion. It is not healthy. Then on secondly, talking about, does it mean all these things can be done without the Biafran issue? Well, to the best of my knowledge, and based on how much I have studied global interventional operation, there is no intervention that started from one unit that fell to spill over to other units. That's why countries do everything possible, humanly possible, to stop intervention. Because one thing with intervention is that, for instance, I'm just giving an instance. If American contingents are dropping in Zamfara, for instance, you can only know the date, the time they dropped in Zamfara, but you cannot, it's not at your power to decide where that contingent operation will be expanded to. It has happened in several countries. That's why countries do everything to even stop intervention, especially military intervention, because you can only understand where it will start. You won't understand where it will end. So let us understand it, very, very important. And countries do not tell you their end point of operation. It has never happened. Rather, they use even a smaller unit to make you to believe that, man, what we just want is just a small place to come and is secure. You end up seeing them all over the places. So that is all I will say on that.
There, Mazi. And also to add something, sometimes as far as politicking or international politics is concerned, or diplomacy is concerned, some things are not called, sometimes names are not mentioned verbatim for you to understand things. No. Things, yes, things can start, they might want to go to intervene because of X, but they call it, no, we want to start, this is BY, for example. And also, it is our duty, this is a struggle, to also push and make our point. Continue push. Yes, they know. Sometimes you don't expect the international community to do things automatically. They expect you to fight for it. Armenian genocide by the Ottoman. The Armenians fought for this to be recognized as a genocide for more than 100 years. Mazi, a century. Mazi, if our people understand how fighting for something as a people, how it is hard, Mazi, our people will surely change their orientation. I'm telling you, and be consistent. To recognize that their killings in the First World War was a genocide. It took them consistency for 100 years plus, and they achieve it after more than 100 years. Mazi, ask our our listeners, can our people make such kind of requests consistently? It is a generational request. This generation die, others continue the same thing. You know, you see some of our people back when we say, no, now leave this thing now, it don't pass. Let us fetch the future. Let us continue. Let us move on. We gotta move on. This is weakness. It is for us to also push that, look, those people that they are talking about, genocide committed against, we are number one. Yes, the international community, they know. But it is for you to make the necessary move politically, the noise, the necessary diplomatic noise, and all the fight in order to grab it. That is it. That is what I'm going to add. Caller on what we call it, signal. Can you hear me? Call on signal. Please go on.
No, Mazi, can you hear me?
Yes, the whole world is hearing you. Go on, Mazi.
No. My and Mazi, before I go on to my question,
They are interrupting with my streaming. I don't know. Let me see that I am coming out clear, because what I'm seeing here is absurd. Let me see, please.
okay. I know
Yes.
it's
Oh,
network from my
Mazi, we are
location.
using. I think we are using Bluetooth. That's why.
No, Bluetooth. No Bluetooth,
You,
Mazi. No, I'm not using any
okay.
headset.
Go on. Go on. Your voice is
I'm
very
direct to
smooth.
my
It's
phone.
very smooth here now.
Okay. Thank you. Mazi and lovers of freedom, Biafrans. What we are telling Nigeria government, let them never see you. That now IPOB will sit idly by and watch them do with our leader whatever they feel like. We make the money here, and you want to tamper with that person's life, which is that person's health. I'm sure that here a red line in every human consciousness. So we say is enough. This Karat Hana Botraya. We understand their gimmicks, but we cannot watch Adliba and watch them do that which is in their mind. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, when home and they have not convicted him, he's a freedom fighter, he's a conscious. There is no law in that stepping to any etap, whatever. As a matter of fact, he has been discharged by Court of Appeal 13th October 2022. Is a reality. So, Mazi, I will leave it at that. And coming to the discussion today, viewpoint, I saw the flyer and I was so excited because it gives us opportunity to learn, draw from the wisdom of these informations and knowledge. This is what Biafrans are made of. We have, I will, this is who we are. And this is the threat of one that they are conniving. Now, my question is, now, prior to the coming of IPOB, if you have to, because I'm the major competitors, even though I don't know what we are competing, is in diaspora are the Igbos in diaspora and the Yorubas in diaspora. Now, prior to the coming of IPOB, if you are asked to evaluate the Igbos in diaspora, Biafra by extension, and the Oduduwas, the Yorubas in diaspora, the diplomatic engagement between these two nations in diaspora, considering the fact that I was a history that now Igbos America, he's the founder of places and they are like recognized. What will be your evaluation? I don't know if I'm putting the question in the right perspective. I hope you understand where I'm coming from, Mazi. If you're asked to evaluate the diplomatic engagement between these two nations in diaspora prior to coming of IPOB, what would be the percentage? Like, how would you view it from your own viewpoint? That's the question I want to put across. I will stand.
There were. This is the hard one. Mazi Check Austin. Did you hear him?
Please help me
No, he
to know
said
what he actually
he
said.
said on the diplomatic, we talk about diplomatic front, which is not only other international or other nations. He said, what is our evaluation concerning the diplomatic relationship between the Biafra nation and Oduduwa in the diaspora? What do you think? do you
Because
hear that?
I actually heard him. I actually heard him talking about before the coming of IPOB. Am I correct?
Yes. Mazi Ebuna. Hope you are there. Mazi Ebuna. No, it's off. Okay, go on. Just as you understood it. Go on.
Okay. If actually we talk about diplomatic engagement prior to the coming of IPOB, that means we should be talking a kind of post 2012 society. Sorry, pre 2012. Am I correct? Society of these two people, the Igbo and the Yorubas. Yeah, we must understand that for me, we as a people have never had a bad diplomatic engagement. If we are going to talk about a pre 2012 era, because from 1970, if I'm not mistaken, is less than 30 years. Am I correct, Mazi?
1970 to 2000. 2012 is 4 days.
42 years ago.
Just
Now,
wait. Let me his comeback. Mazi Ebona, please. Can you clarify and repeat your your question? Is it, are you talking about before IPOB or now?
Exactly. Mazi, Mazi Chikosin got the question correctly, Mazi. I am talking about before the question of IPU through Radio Biafra, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu created. Prior, all those 2012, going back to 2007,
It's before
1990, just
before
take it back,
2012.
after the
Before
war.
2012.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. The Igbos, like the Igbos that we know, what are their engagements compared to the Europe? Even though some of the European engagements around we know, but engagement and engagement, even part of warfare, everything you can use to fight. So yeah. So what is the evaluation? That is the question I put across.
There we go. Mazi, please go on now.
so if you look at these two societies, the Igbo and the Igbos, if you make a comparative analysis here, you understand that between 1970 to late 90s, which is 1999 and 2000, these two societies never had equal footprint. The Yorubas and the rest of the North, or the rest of Nigerians, came out of the war between Nigeria and Biafra. It's been much Igbos were of healing process. This is more of child of the war. Why Igbos were doing healing process. And that healing process lasted until sometime 2007. So
Mazi, let me also add that phrase, healing process. I will also try to add it self-healing process, because when you talk about healing process, as if we are receiving healing from any external body. No, self-healing process. Mazi, please go on.
It wasn't it was internal. And that healing process comprised this fitting in, even a footprint on domestic socio-political development, and also footprint on the state. So you can't come and make Igbo society before you and the Yoruba society. They are not in any way. In fact, it is a miracle. What we are doing today is a miracle. What the edifices are built is a miracle. They have been able to establish their miracle because they negate the principle of social evolution. In a real sense, we're talking about currently the commissioning internal display centers. I can tell you, races it took over 70 years to even decommission internal displays, refugee camp. So our process, that's why the headache others have on us is this, that we did not observe process of social healing and social integration. That we wants to serve in a case. They just as mighty as they are. It was in 2010 they were able to process. Mazi Jonathan, I have heard you several times quoting it. The payment of the reparation when it ended. These the Germans from 1945. It took them 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 70 years, the Germans. As this process within 30 years or so. So, you discuss Igbo, and you are trying to it's honest to do that because you have people who are still come from the process genocide against people who never experienced the schooling, doing everything. So I don't think it's a healthy comparison. Thank you, Mazi.
Of course, it is not. Honestly, it is not a healthy comparison because we know how devastated genocide was committed on us by the same people. The Nigeria that is comprised of the north and the southwest. So it's not a healthy comparison, honestly. And the healing process that Mazi Chikosin talks about is our own self-healing, auto-healing process that we are, trying to belong. Whereas these people, they were. So somebody that is trying to be we love Nigeria. Whereas they just like master and slave. Let me put it like that. So it's not a healthy comparison. We are not permitted to have any other agenda except Nigeria. Mazi, I don't know whether you understand what I mean. Since after the war,
yes, sir,
Biafra, we are not expected to have any other agenda, even for our self-conservation. No, it's not possible. Otherwise, you'll be termed ethnic bigot. You are Igbo, you are tribalistic. So they expect us to be clean. What do they mean by cleanliness? Be a detribalized Nigerian. Whereas they themselves, they have their own ethnic agenda. And that is why, like I said, I preached day before. Is it yesterday or day before yesterday? Buhari he was a Boko Haram member, the patron of Boko Haram. But he became the president of Nigeria. But look at P2B, how they require P2B to always come clean, even not to talk about his Igbo-ness. Don't mention Biafra, otherwise you are not you are not even qualified to vie for the office of Nigerian presidency. Whereas a Fulani Boko Haram have the right to be the Nigerian president. Tinubu entered office as a Nigerian president and went to Duduwa house and sang the Yoruba national anthem. No, it doesn't make it. It's normal. But as an Igbo, as a Biafran, under Nigeria, you don't need to even have pity, don't need to have anything to do, pronounce even Biafra. That is the mess we are in. So, Mazi, I agree with you. It's not a is never a healthy comparison. I hope, Mazi Ebona, you had it. It gives you some maybe level of clarity. Caller on, let me, I think I will take the last call, is it? Caller on WhatsApp, please go on. Can you hear me? I think it's Mazi Scavenger there. If you are still there, please go on. Yes.
Professor Jonathan, thank you for taking my call.
There, Mazi.
Yeah, you're speaking to a brother. I greet my leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, a prisoner of conscience who set up this radio Biafra, a seated knowledge and spiritual educators. And what that is, Jonathan, is you are blessed, maintain your blessed. Yes, Sir Austin, thank you for being the guest of our today. Professor Jonathan, I want you to add also that there is nothing to compare here. Why go on my mission? Because remember that Nigeria promised Biafra. People are reconstruction, rehabilitation, and rebuild. They haven't done it till today. Since 1967 to date, no rehabilitation, no reconstruction, no rebuild. Even they that even on budget are not budget. So that is what you do there. Professor Jonathan, our guest also about Niger Delta. You know, here I am, South Africa. I have 3 friends from Niger Delta militant. 2 of them are shoemakers. They're making shoemaker here. That one is a fake pastor. That shows you, since I was born, these 2 things now show us that Nigeria cannot solve any problem. Nigeria have never solved a problem since they begin. And they are not meant to solve problem, and they are not going to solve problem. And another thing I wanted our brother Austin to expatiate to Nigeria is to explain to them that IPOB have our own mind. Because what the Nigerian government is doing, they try to isolate our leader Nnamdi Kanu from IPOB. Because if you see when they are talking, our leader Nnamdi Kanu have told them that IPOB DOS run the day-to-day affair of IPOB, the agitation. They agreed. When they rendition our leader kidnapped him, rendition him from Kenya to, it's on ground that he's a leader of indigenous people of Biafra, not because of his family, not because of our only apparel vehicle. No, he's indigenous people of Biafra. But when they want to negotiate, don't even lawyers. They don't take lawyers, the correct people, DOA, and visit our leader and ask him. Because at the end, that is why I told you, Nigeria don't like to solve the problem. Because at the end, even the mandate that we give him, we are on that mandate. And I don't know how often explain to Nigerians that there are some English, 3 English which they speak. We IPOB are not in that type of English. First, they say bandit. IPOB is not on bandit business. The second one, they say terrorist. IPOB is not on business of terrorists. The third one, they say separatist. We are not separatists. We are asking for freedom. We are not born twins. You separate something that is tied together from origin. That is what it is. So we are not separatists. Asking for referendum. Why are they jumping the bandwagon? Why can't so often can you educate people called Nigeria so that they understand? We're asking for referendum. From referendum, then we really know our mind. We know where we stand, whether we're that same Nigeria or we are not. Because we are not there, we don't know. I've never seen, my father never told me that he went to any meeting. And that have contributed when Nigeria is being inspected, when they were incorporating Biafrans to the Nigeria project. So you can see these people, they don't negotiate.
Go continue towards making your closing remarks, please. Mazi Chikosti.
Okay, Mazi, well, the truth remains, each and every one of us have to mentally evolve to the level to understand that this is a journey that is going to be achievable. Nothing any man can do about it. Putting ourselves through the ideal knowledge of self-determination. Because we have, sometimes there are certain information we have crossed, we are really understanding that to mental fatigue. And that's why you see so many of us ignorantly, out of ignorance and not being properly informed, ended up seeing this golden journey to be a journey of funfair, and a journey that if it doesn't happen next week, I know they do again. These are for toddlers. Because it is as a reaction where people living it a journey of jokers or a journey of, you make noise today. Or, no, we should understand the gravity of what we are pursuing. And I always tell people who care to understand that Nigeria does not have the national cohesion to stop us. The only thing that can stop us is two things. We're stopping ourselves, or ignorance stopping us. These are two major things that can undermine us. We're stopping ourselves, or when we lack basic information on this golden journey we are. So it's not going to be an easy journey. If anybody tells you that, the person is not sincere to the truth. But the honest thing remains, is Nigeria a fragile society? Of course she is. Is Nigeria futuristic? Of course not. Is IPOB capable to deliver? Of course we are. We can. We can. Only what we talk amongst ourselves is this unnecessary transdrop. It doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help who you are, what you have. This is not important. Let us get and
There were. Mazi, let me tell you something. I know you are finished. But there is something I'm just noticing on this our broadcast, even on the social media. They are trying everything, honestly, in order to block. Because I think we entered into restricted areas, honestly. Because what has been happening? I'm telling, I don't, I know what I'm saying. I think they see that we entered into some restricted areas, so that's why they started mesmerizing what we are doing. But nonetheless, we must continue. Mazi, thank you very much. And I love what you said.
Thank you.
Nigeria does not have the wherewithal to stop us. Either we stop due to lack of resilience and consistency, or ignorance. We make fatal error. Ignorance. Mazi, notwithstanding that you've made your closing remarks, but Mazi, let me ask you even. Imagine that our people, our fathers that fought the war, they knew not a privileged information for few people, but the population, including the recruits, the military that we are, Biafrans that we are fighting. They knew that if you people sustain the fight and cross 15th of January 1970, that many countries will be recognizing, many countries lined up to recognize Biafra. Mazi, imagine that the population knew. What do you think that would have happened? They would have massively, even if as people are dying, as people are perishing, they say, no, we must cross this line so that we see results. Because that is information. But I know that some people, maybe in the high echelons, knew about this, but maybe they say, oh boy, what if I die? I beg, let us end this thing. Because the population, we are kept in darkness. It is now that all these things are being declassified for your information. That is why information is very healthy. Information, exposing things is very good for the population, for our cause. Because there are so much complexities. So much complexities. We have been boxed to a corner right from 1970. And we have been suffering, we are traumatized into submission. And there has never been any healing to that trauma that our fathers, our uncles, our grandfathers passed through. They imputed that trauma to their children and children, which is most of us today. And we continue remaining in that cage. It's just like, can you ask yourself, during the transatlantic slavery, black people that were taken from Africa as slaves, they had children, they bore children. But they had to indoctrinate their children to keep them in their position that, look, you are slaves. I am a slave and you must remain slaves. You must remain obedient to the master, that is the white man. He is our owner. Any day you rebel, he will kill you. That child will grow like that inside that cage. That is the way we have been programmed since 1970 to today. It is now that we are trying to burst the bubble. Mazi Chika. The most important thing that has happened to us as a people is dissemination of the information that we need in order to survive as a people. Otherwise, we remain like slaves, honestly. Inside that bubble, where we are born, you have, as an Igbo man, you maintain your space. Oh, don't go, you don't have any. Sometimes, even our fathers will tell us that nothing for you in Nigeria, go and hustle. And that mentality continues. It's a drama, for goodness sake. It's a heavy cage that we are in. Instead of fighting or being a proud citizen of the so-called Nigeria, You grow up and say, oh God, I want to go find my space. So let me, either you go do boy, you run away, travel, and say, oh boy, nothing for me here. And we took it as normal thing. And this thing, they thought that it will continue forever. For goodness sake, I said, no, it cannot continue. I am very bold to say that this shouldn't continue. Unless we are very ignorant and foolish to allow it to continue. We are just like children of slaves born in America in 17th, 18th century. What can you do? They start indoctrinating you right from babyhood that look at your space. So you see how I'm doing? I'm not a free person. So you as my child, you are not free. You're a black person. You are a child of a slave. You have to know your space. That is what Nigeria has put us into. And IPOB, we have come to destroy that bubble. I am telling you. And we must achieve it. And we are achieving it. That is why mental liberation is number one. It's a precursor to physical emancipation. If we stop, honestly speaking, we are gone. If we imagine that you are running a marathon of maybe 40 kilometers, you started doing well until you reach 39.9 kilometers. You never reach the finish, you never cross the finishing line, and you fall, you collapse. Others will come and overtake you. You are no longer. I was number one since 1 hour. I get them before, no be property. That is why it would be better for us not to have started this than starting and stopping. Mazi, Austin, please. Thank you very much. You are a gift, honestly. And we must continue. Any person that is thinking of backsliding on this struggle, please. I say, please, rethink. And we must support this struggle. And the knowledge of international politics should help us for us to understand how things work. Mazi Chik, I don't know whether you want to say one word or the other, because this is where I'm going to stop, Mazi. Sometimes I get emotional. Mazi, please, if you want to say one thing or the other, please, you go on before I close.
No, Maz, I have nothing to say. I think I've said all I can. So I want to appreciate you for the time you gave. Thank you, Maz.
Mazi. We must continue. My fellow Biafrans, my comrades, we must continue. You people should understand that what we engage ourselves is not a child's play. It is not a buying and selling, please. It is something that is very huge. That is why we must make Biafra to become, we have made Biafra to be our religion. Biafra remains our ideology. Biafra is our religion. Biafra is everything, because without it, we are nowhere. Thank you for listening. From me, Mazi Jonathan Chinedu, from here, including Mazi Chikostin, it is simply good evening.
Ona le mo kam
Sorry. And also, we received a report that people in Lagos, in parts of Yoruba land, they rejected this vaccination. But they said there is order from above that they must start distributing it in southeast. Let me use that word, southeast. From Monday, 27th, going to schools, churches, everywhere. They have come again. Common sense now should go why. Nigeria, so something good, free of charge. Nigeria will bring it to us. This is just common sense. Something good. Oh, something very beneficial. Now they will target our land. Oh, Igbo soya, no, come and take it. Biafra soya is you number one. What about if it is a vaccination that is untested? What about it is the after effects? Did they know? What about if it is part of the GET program? People here on Radio Biafra, we raise your common sense part of your brain. That part of your brain that deals on common sense. From tomorrow, they will be dispatched, going from school to school. There are many sicknesses, different sicknesses, they don't care. But this one is vaccination from 9 years to 14 years against cervical cancer in our female mostly. So, whereas look at the trend they give us from our battle. Look at the lack of development. Look at everything. Now they want to say they love us to inject us, give us a vaccine. We should never trust Nigerian government and their agents in our land. They can promote. The doctor said the worry he has is he tried to pose question. They said no, it's order from above. You have to do it in Southeast. Now, how this type of thing could be. So if you are hearing my voice, you now know na Biafra land. Boya, tell him or her about the vaccination, the danger. Our coming generation. Because we are hated. Brigade is there. Anything that happens, even if they want to test the drug, they will bring it to our land. They say, and once they meet the governors, the governors are at the mercy of the Fulani Caliphate. So they don't have any say. We don't have political representatives. For your information, I will not continue talking, please. Kai Mecha, this 30th May. Remember, I Mecha the 30th May. Now, the fire will continue. Because we need to educate our people, honestly. We need to educate our people. People are perishing because of ignorance, lack of knowledge. It is that knowledge that we are trying to impact. Started by Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. What you hear here on Radio Biafra, you cannot hear it any other place, any other mainstream media. It's impossible. Therefore, we must continue. Do not forget that on Tuesday, Mazi Chinedu will be coming on air. I'll be hosting him here on Radio Biafra on Tuesday, being the 28th, by 7:30 p.m. BT. Also on the 30th, which will be on Thursday, it is our remembrance, our heroes and heroines remembrance day. And in that case, Mazi Chika Edoziem also, our the man in charge, because in the temporal absence of our leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the DOS headed by Mazi Chika Edoziem is in charge. Whether you like it or not, you deal with it. Is the reality. Mazi Chika Edoziem is in charge. That is it. You have no option. That is it. So, Mazi Chika Edoziem, the head of the directorate of the head of the directorate of the indigenous people of Biafra will be coming on air to address Biafrans on Thursday by 7:30 p.m. Do not miss these programs, please. Therefore, without taking any much time, because today, Dr. Okachi, he will speak less, and lines, I will open the line so that people will come in mostly to ask questions, mostly about the history, which he started since last week. You listen and hear, and anything you hear, you try to make more researches in order to know it. Because listening to it does not make you know it. When you make your researches, now you confirm the knowledge of it. And knowledge is added. And ignorance will be removed. Therefore, without taking any much time, as I said, I will bring in Dr. Justice Okachi Lois in order to continue. Mazi, can you hear me, please? Welcome to the program.
Yes, good evening, Mazi Jonathan, and good evening, all listeners. It's a pleasure to come back, not because we enjoy what has happened to us as a people and history, but an opportunity using this hallowed platform to share the knowledge that is available out there, and of course from eyewitnesses and survivors of the genocide that's happened to our people. We mustn't misconstrue it or think that your enemy has stopped attacking you. So, but you have to understand the historicity, the background to our suffering. So today, rather than continuing and talking about the actual war, which is the next step, because I structured the lectures or the talks in about 5 ways so that we'll be able to use today to discuss and raise anyone's question, which we can answer as interactively as possible. We based the talks on the January 15th coup, then the 29th July coup, then the pogrom itself, then the Aburi Accord, and after the Aburi Accord, the declaration of Biafra as a sovereign state. And today, as you know what would happen, after Biafra was declared, the Nigerians decided to invade Biafra. They fired the first shot to try and push people they kicked out of the Federation to bring them back in. So Nigeria, as a result, as a land, was soaked in blood. And is still being soaked in blood. And we need to take a pause then today to field some questions. So be brief in your questions, and I try and answer as many of them as possible, because the actual topic on the war itself, we're going to somehow